The black wife turned back for her passport and heard who her husband really was. She froze in the foyer. The house carried every sound. "They love her on stage." "Black, brilliant, harmless," Trent murmured. "And when a strong black woman pushes back doors close." "We'll be done by Tuesday," Ava replied. Then a soft laugh. The hush of a kiss. The perfume she didn't wear drifted down the stairwell. Noelle's grip burned on the banister. Heat rose, then broke into a cold ache. Tuesday meant her mother's house. Evelyn's roses watered at dawn. She saw the travel mug, the cinnamon on toast, the hand at her back. Every kindness turned counterfeit. Her chest tightened. Her eyes stung. She steadied her breath. Evidence first. Accusations later. She counted the floorboards that creaked. She listened for names and numbers, for the shape of the theft. Upstairs, paper slid in folders. A voice said, "Love you." He never said it like that to her. What would you do next, confront or collect proof? Tap subscribe to see how she flips the script. She walked out of the stairwell with her breath held and her mind already sorting steps. To understand the move she was about to make, you have to know the woman making it. By habit, Noelle measured herself in deadlines and deliverables. Chief Risk Officer at Juniper Gate Security. Keynote speaker bound for London to talk AI defenses and human failure. A black woman at the podium photographed, quoted, praised. She knew the script. Excellence. First, then the whispers about optics. After her father died, she rebuilt the firm from a small book of clients to a national roster. Long nights, rented cars, red eyes over spreadsheets. She hired smart. She said no when it cost her. She learned to carry both weight and grace. Savannah kept her centered. Spanish moss heat the iron fences near Forsyth Park. Her mother's voice on Sunday evenings. Her own name on contracts that once carried her father's signature. People called her a symbol, and sometimes she smiled because arguing stole time she needed for the work. But symbols do not pay payroll. She did. The London stage promised status and deals. It also promised the question she hated. Are you here for talent or the photo? Trent had arrived in her life during the wreckage year. He cooked when she forgot to eat. He learned her coffee order and the way cinnamon steadied her nerves. He put a hand at the small of her back when rooms started closing. 7 years later, those gestures stood in a row like props. He told stories about childhood summers, about loyalty, about wanting a life with a smart woman who carried too much. He never asked for more than time, or so it seemed. Flowers appeared on Tuesdays. Laughter that let her rest for an hour before another crisis. On the mornings she traveled, he woke first. He pressed the travel mug into her palm. He kissed her forehead and said, "We'll be fine. Go make us proud." She believed him because trust had been her choice, because marriage to her meant safety. Tonight, the script peeled back. The kiss belonged to someone else. The mug was a stage piece. Safety had become a password he used against her. She stayed still until the tremor passed through her hands and left a steadier kind of pain. Training rose like a tide she could stand on. Evidence first, accusations later. She mapped the staircase in her head. Third step, groans. Landing whispers. Door latch clicks if rushed. She made a promise she could keep: no heroics, no shouting, no giving him a story to twist for good. The house held her father's memory, and she carried that discipline forward. He had taught her to slow her breathing before a negotiation. She did the same now alone with the smell of cinnamon and betrayal. Upstairs, they moved paper. She listened for names, for banks, for times. She filed each word as if it were a number on a ledger. Tuesday, circled in red ink, she could feel. When the hall fell quiet, she slid back to the door. Night air cooled her face. She walked to the car and sat still. She let grief sit beside her. Strategy would drive. She needed the lie to live a little longer. London had to remain real to everyone but her. In the dim car, she drafted the script and called Ray Collins. "Keep my calendar as is. Tell the Alliance I'm delayed in transit. Email only. If anyone asks, I'm on stage tomorrow." Ray paused, heard the tone and said she would handle everything. Loyalty went down on the list of things still true. Noelle booked a room under a company account and used a spare phone from a travel kit. She rerouted her number through a secure app. She wrote an email to the conference chair about a family emergency, then saved it in drafts. She would send it after the schedule confirmed her absence without flagging Trent. She rehearsed 2 calls to her husband. One from the hotel, one from a fake London line. She wrote notes like an actor learning beats. Gentle, tired, brief. Mention jet lag. Give him nothing he could measure. Give him every reason to relax. She needed eyes that saw what she could not. She called Janelle Porter, the friend who once tutored her through cost accounting and grief. "I need you, Janelle. No questions on this line. Can you meet within the hour?" Janelle heard the break under the steel and said yes. Starland District. They kept it simple because simple stayed off paper. Driving across Savannah, Noelle pictured her mother watering roses. She pictured the small office where Evelyn kept folders and cards her husband wrote. A Tuesday auction felt obscene against those tender, ordinary things. She tightened her jaw and kept moving. Janelle arrived first with a laptop that had no stickers and a mind that could follow money in the dark. Noelle told the story once with names, dates, and the words she had heard in her own home. Janelle asked for logins and statements. She asked for nothing else. They set 2 timers, 90 minutes to scan the surface, another 60 to dive. They would not sleep until Tuesday moved. Numbers told a cleaner story than people. Janelle opened the joint account and scrolled, but there it was. Small transfers out every few weeks, each politely sized. 1,500, 2,800, 2,200. Over 18 months, trickle became a river. Destination Base Buyer Properties. Registered in Delaware. Mailing address a box. Website a page with stock photos of front doors. Janelle pulled parallel lines from credit cards, then investment accounts. The same pattern. The same quiet hand. Noelle watched the totals stack until her throat felt tight. Money she earned during red-eye flights had been packaged and sent to the woman who kissed her husband upstairs. Janelle circled dates that matched business trips. The timing stung. While Noelle spoke to rooms about threat models, Trent tested hers. They flagged passwords to reset and accounts to freeze. They built a list for Mercer. Janelle spoke in a low voice to a contact at a bank's risk team. The call ended with a warning, "Move fast, or it all moves faster." Janelle widened the search to public records. Trent Cade returned little. Too neat. She followed base buyer filings and found a manager's name tied to an older alias. Trent Rourke. Connecticut docket. Investment fraud. 2 years served. Name change filed on release. New life assembled from clean paper. Noelle stared at the screen until the letters blurred. She remembered the conference hall where she first met him, the questions, the attention that had felt like care. It had been research. She pictured their wedding in her mother's yard, her father-gone hope threaded through every vow. It had been staging. Janelle kept talking because facts gave breath. Dates, addresses, signatures, fees. She pulled the parole date and set it beside the night Noelle presented on compliance. He had been in that room by design. He had seen her competence and her grief and calculated the yield. Noelle wrote his name on a page. Then she wrote her own. She underlined twice. One would not erase the other. Not now, not again. Morning light found her driving to Ardsley Park. Evelyn opened the door with surprise. "I thought you were flying," she said. "Change of plans," Noelle answered and asked for any papers Trent had brought by in the past year. Her mother returned with a folder fat with signatures. At the table, Noelle read. Refinance that doubled the balance. A home equity line for $200,000. Notices sent to a box number Noelle had never seen. And there, a signature that looked like hers until the slant went wrong at the end. "He said this would make it easier," Evelyn whispered. "He said you had approved it." Noelle shook her head and kept her voice steady. "This is not your fault. He used our trust like a tool." She logged into her mother's accounts and traced the cash out. It had detoured to Bayspire within days. Mortgage payments had stopped 4 months ago. Fees piled like bricks. Tuesday was not a rumor. It was a schedule. They would break it. They left the folder and stepped into the day. Noelle called the mortgage department to confirm the auction stay. The representative spoke slowly, asked for the same details twice, then suggested she bring her husband to sort it out. She ended the call before anger bled into her voice. At the branch, a manager said he couldn't discuss accounts without Trent present. Yet those same accounts had moved when Trent submitted forms by mail. The double standard sat like a print on glass. Noelle documented names, times, phrases. Mercer would use them. On the sidewalk, a neighbor waved, asked if everything was okay, then added, "I knew Trent had a head for business." She thanked him and kept walking. She had no spare air for education. Back in the car, she felt the exhaustion of being seen and unseen at once. Symbol on stage. Suspect at a window. She let the feeling pass through. Then she picked up her phone and began the list of calls that would not be ignored. Harold Mercer cleared space on his desk and spoke in verbs. File, serve, freeze. He listened without interruption while Noelle laid out Bayspire, the forged signature, the auction date. Then he began to move the system. An emergency injunction to stay foreclosure, a temporary restraining order to block any transfer of title, preservation notices to banks and custodians. He read key lines back to her so nothing bent under pressure. He asked for the neighbor's name, the branch manager's phrases, the P.O. box number. Everything mattered when the clock did. He filed electronically, then called the clerk, then the bank's counsel, then a judge's chambers. Momentum turned into paperwork that bit. Noelle held the phone and felt the first edge of safety. Not relief. Safety. Mercer promised written orders by evening. He warned her the other side would scramble once the locks clicked. "Expect noise," he said. Let it be noise. When the confirmation email landed, the subject line carried a date. Tuesday had a new companion. Stayed. Noelle let herself breathe once, then kept going. Night found her in a hotel under a company alias. She powered the spare phone and routed it through a secure app. She dialed Trent at a time that matched London. He answered with warmth. He performed like a role. "How's the flight? How's my star?" She kept her tone light. Tired, jet-lagged, a sandwich between sessions. She mentioned a panel on quantum encryption. She gave him nothing he could verify and everything he wanted to hear. He laughed softly. He told her he missed her. He said "love you" with the ease she had heard upstairs. When he asked about her schedule tomorrow, she let a yawn cover the answer. Morning, keynote. Then meetings. "I'll text if Wi-Fi behaves." He told her to rest. He told her he was proud. She ended the call and watched the screen dim. Dramatic irony hummed like a low current. He believed distance made her blind. Distance had made her precise. She wrote one line in her notebook. "He relaxes when I sound small. Use it." Janelle traced Bayspire to profiles that glittered. Ava Lennox smiled from beaches and balconies. New handbags. Old captions about hustle. A story highlight bragged about finding value where others see chaos. Noelle scrolled in silence, jaw set. They mapped trips against withdrawals. Cabo matched a 5,000 drain across 2 cards. Paris matched a brokerage transfer cut into 3 small bites. A reel showed a view of the river with a caption, "Flip Season." In comments, someone joked. "What's the haul?" Ava replied with a winking face and a dollar sign. Janelle opened listing histories. Properties moved through auctions and landed in shell entities, then sold within months. The Ardsley Park address sat on a short list under pending. Estimated upside about $700,000 after debt and fees. "Her luxury is your labor," Janelle said. Noelle nodded. "And my mother's house." The shape of the theft became personal in a new way. Not just numbers. A stranger's rooftop toast funded by the porch where Evelyn read the paper. Stakes sharpened. They drew the plan on a legal pad. Law Mercer would file the injunctions, send preservation letters, and walk the bank's counsel through exposure if they ignored fraud flags. Money, Janelle would expand freezes to any account that touched Bayspire or its cousins, then alert internal risk teams at 2 custodians she trusted. Mind, Noelle would wedge Trent and Ava apart, divide them with timing, make him panic while she hesitates, make her doubt his loyalty and fear his arrest. The aim was not drama, it was cooperation. An early witness changes everything. Noelle drafted 2 messages she would deploy later. One suggested scrutiny at Bayspire, one hinted at someone talking. She would choose which to send after Mercer confirmed the bank's compliance. "Think of it like chess," Janelle said. "Your king is your mother's deed. We build a wall around it. Then we chase their queen off the board." Noelle glanced at the clock. The storm had a schedule. So did they. Noelle messaged Ava from a business account that profiled distressed assets. The tone was professional, admiring, and vague. "We're evaluating quick-turn opportunities in Savannah. Heard you're sharp on auctions. Open to a chat," Ava replied within an hour with a calendar link and a smiley. Vanity opened more doors than lockpicks. On the call, Ava talked about market psychology and motivated sellers. She described neighborhoods without saying Ardsley Park. She floated a window where assets could be acquired below emotional value. Noelle asked clean questions. How do you avoid public heat? How do you pick the properties with the best upside? Ava grew comfortable. She mentioned a Tuesday piece and a spread worth north of 6. Her tone turned proud. Noelle let the silence stretch a half-second. Then she said 2 names from older cases. Women who lost homes and health after similar flips. Ava faltered on a word. Noelle kept her voice neutral. "We care about reputational risk. Any history I should know, the hook set without a jerk." Noelle laid out 3 victims quietly. One had a heart episode after losing savings. Another left her practice. A third disappeared from social feeds the month after a sale closed. No accusations, only facts with dates. Ava tried to reframe. People make choices. Noelle didn't argue. She let the consequences speak. "Our investors hate surprises," she said. "They also hate headlines tying our capital to harm." Ava asked who was talking. Noelle did not answer. She offered a different door. "Cooperation matters. Early cooperation matters more." The words carried the weight of prosecutors without saying the word prosecutor. Silence stretched. Vanity collided with self-preservation. "What are you suggesting?" Ava asked. Voice lower. "Simple," Noelle said. "Tell the whole truth before he does. Bring documents. Bring the list. You're not safe near him when this breaks." Ava exhaled. The first crack had formed. Noelle heard it. "I need assurances," Ava said. "You need leverage," Noelle replied. "You build it by moving first." By evening, Ava texted a number and wrote, "My attorney will call." The message carried both fear and hope. The attorney asked about immunity. Noelle made no promises. She repeated a single line until it settled. "Value drops every hour after Monday." Ava wanted guarantees without cost. Noelle offered gravity instead. A stay is in place. Accounts are freezing. When charges come, the first cooperator shapes the case. She did not say which office or which statutes. She let Ava imagine both. Ava asked for time. Noelle gave her a thin slice. "By morning, send a list of entities you and Trent used. No narratives, just names. Show me you're serious." The typing bubble came and went. Then a short reply, "I'll try." Noelle read it twice. Trying was not cooperation, but it was the first step away from Trent. She set an alarm for dawn. She prepared messages for Mercer and Pierce if the list arrived. The clock became louder than her pulse. That was good. It meant focus. Mercer confirmed the stay in writing and forwarded the bank's internal memo. Effective immediately, it read. The memo warned against accepting any transfer instructions from Trent or base buyer. It cited fraud concerns and pending court action. Janelle completed a flowchart that mapped cash from Noel's accounts to a holding bank to base buyer to a luxury card in Ava's name. Arrows turned the air cold. She attached screenshots, dates, routing numbers. "This is enough to hold a room," she said. Ray kept the London calendar alive. She sent polite declines. She told anyone who asked that Noel was rehearsing. She shielded internal chatter from gossip. Noel sat in the hotel and wrote a single sentence she would not send. "I miss the version of you I thought was real." She deleted it, then drafted talking points for a bank supervisor and a detective. She set clothes out like armor. She slept in 2-hour pieces. Dawn would press the first domino. Monday opened gray and wet. Trent arrived at the branch in a clean suit with a practiced smile. Noel parked where she could see the door and the desk beyond it. She watched him hand over a folder and point to a line where a signature should go. The manager glanced at a screen, then stood and left with the folder. Minutes pulled slow. Trent checked his watch. He made a call. He kept his voice low and his jaw set. When the manager returned, the tone had changed. A memo, a stay, a note that accounts were under review. The folder slid back across the desk. Trent's smile tightened into something sharp. He pushed, then paused. He left without his outcome. Noel sat still until her hands stopped shaking. The first wall had held. She imagined Evelyn's roses drinking rain without knowing they had been spared for one more day. She let that picture steady her. Then she pulled into traffic and followed from a distance. Trent drove to another branch, then another. Each stop ended the same way. A screen, a memo, a phone call he could not control. He texted someone and got no reply. Ava had gone quiet. He tried to move funds through a brokerage. The rep kept him on hold, then cited an internal freeze. He asked for a supervisor. He was told to expect a call from counsel. He walked out with his mouth tight and his eyes bright with anger. He dialed Noel twice and hung up both times. He left a message later with warmth that sounded wrong around the edges. "Hope London's going well. Miss you." The performance had splinters in it now. Noel listened once, then saved it. Role reversal tasted clean. For months he had treated her life like a lever. Today, every lever stuck. She updated Mercer and Janelle with times and places. She marked a new word on her list: panic. Panic made mistakes. Mistakes made proof. Proof made prison. Noel parked 2 blocks away and walked in the rain. She entered the Forsyth Park house and did not soften her steps. The third stair creaked. She let it. Trent turned in the doorway of his office with a startled laugh that died before it formed. "London," he said, as if the word might still save him. She stood in the threshold and met his eyes. There was nothing to explain. The distance between them felt exact. 7 years arranged in a straight line she could finally see. He glanced past her as if someone else might appear to pull her away. No one did. Silence did the work she needed. It stripped the room and left only truth. He tried a smile. It looked like a mask left in sun too long. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "I am exactly where I should be," she answered. The sentence steadied her. She stepped in and closed the door behind her. He waited for softness. None came. The confrontation had already begun. She said his true name first. Trent Rourke. The syllables hit the room and stayed. Connecticut. Investment fraud. 2 years served. Name change on release. He opened his mouth. She continued. Ava Lennox. Base buyer properties. Delaware box. Website with stock doors. 18 months of polite transfers. Your total from me and my mother is $600,000. He tried to laugh. He failed. You're mistaken, he said. She laid the forged signature on his desk. The curve of her name wrong at the end. You cloned my hand. You refinanced my mother's home. You opened a HELOC for $200,000. You stopped paying 4 months ago. Notices went to your box. He reached for the papers. She moved them away. Court orders are filed. Foreclosure is stayed. Transfers are frozen. The bank has your name on a risk memo. He searched the air for a story to live in. There was none. The ledger stood upright. Every number had a cost. Every lie had a line. "Give me 5 minutes," he said, hands lifted like peace. "Things got complicated. I never meant—" "No," she said. The single word held more force than any argument. He tried again, softer. He spoke about stress, about opportunities, about how they could fix it together. He reached for the future as if it were a lamp he could switch back on. She let him speak one more sentence and cut it clean. "Every new word is another lie," she said. "Stop." He blinked, stunned by the edge in her voice. "You don't understand what it's like to fight your way up." She didn't raise her tone. "I do. I just never stepped on my mother to do it." For a moment he searched for the old openings, the empathy he had learned to pull, the apology that used to work. None of it landed. "My lawyer," he began. "Talk to hers," she said, "and to the detective who is on the way." She put her phone on the desk. The clock on the screen said enough. The sirens arrived as a hum before they hardened into sound. Lights colored the wet street. A knock at the door carried purpose. Noelle stepped aside and let Detective Alana Pierce enter with 2 officers. Trent Rourke Pierce said, "We have questions." The questions wore steel. He tried to turn charm into a shield and found it full of holes. The officer read his rights. He looked at Noelle then. A final angle. A last trick. "I did love you," he said. Quiet, practiced. She met his gaze without flinching. "You loved access," she said. "You loved control." They cuffed him. The expensive suit lost its fit. The performance had no stage left to stand on. He asked something about a phone call. He did not receive permission. On the porch, rain tapped the rail. Evelyn's roses held their shape. Noelle watched the car door close and felt a precise kind of relief. Not joy, not victory. Safety. The first true piece of it. In a small conference room, Noelle laid out the timeline like a spine. Dates, calls, the whisper on the stairs, the London alibi that bought her time. She placed bank statements beside Janelle's flowchart. She handed over the recording of Ava's brag and the messages that hinted at Tuesday's flip. Detective Pierce paged through the stack and kept nodding. "This is tight," she said. "You documented while you bled." The compliment was not warm, it was professional. It landed where Noelle needed it. They discussed next steps. Preservation orders already in motion. Subpoenas to round out the structure. A victim services card slid across the table. Noelle took it and tucked it into her notebook. "You're unusual," Pierce added. "Most people can't build and feel at once. I built so I could feel." "Later," Noelle said. It was true. It also sounded like a plan she could finally set down. She signed her statement and thought of Evelyn's porch. The house could breathe. By afternoon, Mercer forwarded an email from a defense lawyer. Ava Lennox wished to discuss cooperation. The word sat on the screen like a door unlocking. A call followed. The lawyer spoke carefully. Ava could provide entity lists, transfer schedules, account numbers, and prior targets. She would want consideration. Noelle did not promise anything. She reiterated sequence. Early truth matters most. The documents began to arrive in a zipped folder. Shells under shells. A web across states. 12 years of repetition with new names and the same wounds. Noelle scanned a list of women who had fallen out of sight after opportunities closed on them. The anger burned steadier and colder. It shaped into purpose. Pierce listened and said, "This changes sentencing exposure." Mercer said, "It also changes leverage at the bank." Noelle closed her eyes for a second. The picture sharpened. It was not only about a single house anymore. It was about stopping a method. Her voice, when she spoke, carried that new size. The courtroom smelled of polish and paper. Trent entered in jail orange that stole his posture. A sharp-suited lawyer flanked him and tried to build angles where none remained. The prosecutor laid out the case like a route you could walk. Forged signatures. frozen accounts, a shell company that collected polite thefts, a cooperating witness named Ava Lennox who described process and intent. Exhibits glowed. Transfers matched travel days. A recording played a simple phrase, "Will be done by Tuesday." The judge watched without expression. The defense argued context, misunderstanding, business gone bad. The judge set bail at $2 million. Mercer whispered that the freeze made it moot. Trent looked back only once. The stare had no craft left in it. Noelle did not look away. She sat with her mother and felt something unclench. Not triumph. Alignment. The facts stood without her holding them up. Weeks turned into a process. Janelle traced funds into accounts with names that sounded like coastal developments and empty trusts. Some money had evaporated into travel and vanity. Enough remained to matter. Recoveries came in pieces. About 62% returned across wires and checks. Noelle used the first portion to pay off Evelyn's mortgage and record a trust that locked the deed beyond reach. Her mother slept through the night for the first time in months. At Juniper Gate, Noelle built a talk she had not planned to give. Not about firewalls and tools, about human vector social engineering and the cost of trusting a mask. Clients leaned in. They saw risk in the mirror. New contracts followed not because she was a symbol, but because she told the truth cleanly. She did not confuse growth with healing. The company steadied. The house stood safe. The heart would need a different kind of work. She marked the win, then made room for what remained. Therapy did not fix the past. It gave it edges, Dr. Warren named the injury betrayal trauma. She taught Noelle where vigilance protected and where it stole sleep. Noelle learned to lower the guard one notch in the rooms that earned it. Messages began to arrive from other women. Some had crossed paths with Trent and Ava. Others had met different versions with different names. They spoke about lost savings, lost houses, lost time. Shame loosened when they said it out loud. They started meeting once a month, not to trade wounds, to build tools, checklists for caregivers, scripts for banks, a hotline list of attorneys who believed victims before the math cleared. Noelle watched the circle widen and felt the rough thing in her chest change shape. She did not rush trust. She practiced it. She found a small, steady pride in that. Surviving had been the first job. Living was the second. She was doing both now with company. 2 years later, sunlight fell into a new apartment that carried only her choices. Noelle stood by the window and watched the city move. She did not miss the house where a performance had lived. She visited Evelyn's porch instead. The roses kept their schedule. She thought about firewalls and the line she now used in rooms that needed it. Technology has a perimeter. So should the heart. Verification is not cynicism. It is care. She didn't call herself broken. She didn't call herself whole. She called herself changed, and that was honest. The woman who once trusted, first now trusted and verified. The woman who once stood frozen on a stair, now moved first when it counted. If this story reached you, pass it to a daughter, a sister, a friend. We are safer when we share the pattern. And if you want more stories where women take back the script, subscribe. There are other doors to open, and we will open them together.